Why am I seeing all these YouTubers and Twitch streamers playing the game with no problem? Well, if you want to learn how, don't watch this video. What is going on, guys? My name is Frost, and today I'm going to give you 5 simple, easy steps on how you can improve your gameplay in Frostpunk. Let's jump right in. A lot of people may have seen the update for the new DLC on the Edge, which is coming out this summer, which we're all hyped for in the community. Or you may have just picked this game up because it's on Steam at the moment on a discount, and you're wondering how you can improve your gameplay and how you can improve how you play. So here we are. Now, a lot of these steps and a lot of these tips are based in the early game. If you can set yourself up in the first 4 days, then it will make it a lot easier throughout the game to manage. So step number 1. So before I even start, number 1 is quite easy and it's something to remember throughout the game. Step 1 is sustain life and keep the first lot alive. So the first 80 people that you have, you want to make sure that you can maintain and keep alive before you get any more people in. And even though once you get more people in, you need to make sure you have enough resources, enough heat, enough food for those people. So it requires a little bit of a forward plan, but once you get this down, it will make it a lot easier for you in the later game. So the first thing you need to do is the 8 people that you have, keep in there, keep alive, and if you can keep these alive for a couple of days, especially when it gets colder, that's when you want to start looking out for other people. So the first thing you want to be doing is by day 1 you want to be having tents for every single member of your community, and by doing that, the first thing you want to be looking at is resources and gathering posts. And you'll notice that you've got 2 wood and steel, you've got coal and steel, and wood and steel. Steel you don't really need for the first couple of days, so we'll be going to prioritise wood and coal. So we're going to place one here for the wood and 1 steel, and we're also going to place one here as well for the coal. Now, doing these 2 gathering posts will deplete your wood resources, so in the meantime you want to be getting at least 15 of your workers to work on at least 1 wood. But just to be safe, we're going to get them to work on both woods whilst these guys are being built. Now, while these workers are working on there and the other workers are building these gathering posts, you can look towards the next step. By doing this, you will prioritise one of the most important things. Now, a lot of people, what I see is they prioritise resources, prioritise tech, or prioritise the beacon, which is what the game tells you to do. But the first and foremost thing you need to do as a priority is to make sure that you have enough resources, food, houses for your community. Because if you don't, that's when discontent and hope will fall, and that's when things will go into ruin. Because if you get low hope and high discontent in the early game, you might as well start again. I'm going to pause this now. We have enough to build roads in our community. Now, do not worry about placing roads or anywhere at the moment because it's going to get messy. You can sort that out after. The priority is you want to make sure that you can get at least 80 wood before the first night. So we have everybody working on wood. We've got everybody working at the moment. We don't want to be putting on the generator just yet. Just a quick easy tip as well, at the moment you want to be building all your tents around your generator. You can sort out management of places after, but you want to make sure they're all around there because otherwise they'll get ill in the night. The first night is up, we're going to stick the generator on to make sure everybody's warm, and that should mean that maybe 1 person might get ill, maybe 2 people might get ill, but as long as we've got tents for everybody. I've had times where gameplays where I've had like 18 people ill in the first night because I've not built any tents. So that is part of sustain life, is to make sure you have tents for everybody. As part of sustain life as well, you can notice we've got 100 raw food and we've got no food rations. Until we get 1 person hungry, we're not going to waste our resources building a cookhouse. That can come later. We've got everybody in tents. Discontent is low, hope is medium. So we're on day number 2 now, which will lead on to step number 2. It's prioritise resource gathering over tech in early game. So at the moment, the only thing you really need to worry about is making sure you have enough coal and you have enough resources for later game. So that's what we want to be prioritising at the moment. Once we get halfway through day 2, we're going to look at building a workshop. So the first couple of days is basically looking at prioritising resources, and then the rest is moving on to tech. So that's what we're going to do now. And as you notice, we've only managed to get 2 people sick during the night, which is an ideal outcome. If you didn't have these tents, you would have had half the community sick already, which is the last thing we want to do. So we find that one of our wood has been depleted and we've only got 15 left. So the next thing we're going to be doing is working around this gathering outpost. What I see a lot of the times is people prioritise buildings and advances and coal mines and everything like that. But at the moment, work with resources that you've got around you. Work with what you have instead of wasting resources to build other buildings. We're going going to build a workshop now. Now workshops have base level 2 heating, which means we don't have to stick them right next to it. We can stick them halfway up, which will prioritise buildings closer to the generator later that have a base level heating of 1. So we're going to stick that there. Now I like to stick 2 workshops because we have at the moment 13 unemployed engineers. We've got nobody sick, and whilst our tech buildings have been built, we're going to be looking at step number 3, which is book of laws. Now this is a whole video in itself, so I'll make it very easy. There is many different ways on how you can go down this book of laws. I'm going to be looking at is either 2 ways. Now some people like going down radical treatment and then looking at care home and overcrowding. Until we get enough people who are sick, we're not going to bother with it. At the moment we're going to be looking at emergency shift, so we can look at extended shift. Extended shifts means we can extend the hours worked, which means we'll get more resources. Discontent will rise because of that, but we can manage that later on in the game. So just coming up to end of day 2, which means people will start getting hungry, so we're going to forward plan and we're going to get a cookhouse. Now a cookhouse only has a base level temperature of 1, however we can advance the cookhouse installation in the tech building a little bit later, so we're going to put that there for now. We're not going to worry about it too much until it gets to day 4 and it starts getting really cold. We're not going to massively fuss. Now we only need to put 1 worker in this building at the moment because nobody's hungry. Workshop's built and now we've got 13 engineers unemployed. We're going to stick them both in there. You want to be looking at either a few things. So what the game tells you to do is go straight towards building a beacon, but like I said, we need to maintain life and we need to sustain the life that we already have, so we need to focus on that 80 people that we've already got. Now because we've built this early on, we don't need to worry about heating just yet, so the first resource we're going to be looking at is faster gathering. Faster gathering will require the people in the gathering outposts and also gathering separately to gather them quickly, naturally, so that's what we're going to be doing. Here we are on day 3 and nobody's hungry yet, but we're going to forward plan. Forward planning is one of the main challenges in this game because you need to figure out when people are going to get hungry, when people are going to get sick, and so on and so forth. So I know in the next couple of days people are going to eat all these resources, so I'm going to build myself a hunter's hut now and get them sent up ready to go. So now we have emergency shift, now we can work on the extended shift. Now into a bit of how I normally do this. So I normally go up to extended shift and then down to radical treatment, and then sometimes it depends on if people are really ill or not, so it all depends on how it works. So I'd go radical treatment to make sure that they'll try everything to cure them. Then I will go to overcrowding if there's many people sick, or after radical treatment I'll go to soup if many people are hungry, or if there's no people hungry and there's no people massively sick, I'll look at either building a cemetery or a child labour, and then lastly I'll look at building a fighting arena. Until hope and discontent either rise or fall depending on which category it is, I won't be looking at this section here. This is quite important. So the game is telling you now that because we've had basic resources secured for now, we can build a beacon and scout the Frostland, but at the moment we're not going to do that just yet. We're going to do a couple more tech buildings, a couple more resources gathered, and then we're going to build a beacon, which means now we're going to be putting steam hubs in our main gatherable areas. I was contemplating taking this part out, but I thought I'd keep it in to help you guys understand a little bit more, which is Steam Hub management. So this is sort of like step 3.5. Is not changing the Steam Hubs. I think we can just build it and that's it. But at the moment, these 3 Steam Hubs are wasting coal for no particular reason at all. So we want to be changing the working hours of these to fit the gathering posts. So we're going to be changing that to 6 till 8, 6 till 8, and then 6 till 8. Now that will directly reflect the gathering posts as well. So I'm just recording over this video because I'm aware it's getting quite long and I want to keep the information nice and condensed for people to look at. I'm on day 8, so I've fast forwarded a little bit. I've managed to get a couple of more refugees to my camp and I've got plenty of resources to sustain that life and to make sure that nobody gets sick. Luckily nobody's dead and I've got plenty of coal as well. So with that in mind, the next step I want to look at is automatons, and don't underestimate them. So for some that might seem like common knowledge, but I know for a lot of people that are just starting this game, you may not understand what they really do. So automatons are 24-hour workers pretty much. Now for the first sort of 5 or 6 gameplays that I did on the new home, I actually dismantled them because I knew they had steam cores. So you've got a choice, you can either dismantle it or you can send it back to your city if you need the resources. In this gameplay I sent the automaton back to the city. I needed the coal, so I was going to put my automaton straight away on a coal mine as soon as I'd researched it. Now I will cover automatons in a separate video, and placements and what's the best and what's the worst to put them in, but by the end of the game I normally have about 9 or 10 automatons working, depending on how many steam cores I can gather at any one point. And that leads us very comfortably into the last point, which is steam cores. So steam cores in the early to mid game are limited up until you get to Tesla City, which I will cover in the next video. It's on the right hand side, by the way, for the guys who don't know. Up until you get to Tesla City, you're going to want to manage where you put your steam cores, and steam core placement is all dependent on your actual game. If you're in need of a resource, you're going to want to put a steam core in that. So for example, if you need coal, which is quite common, you're going to want to build coal mines, which require steam cores. If you need food, you want to be looking at putting them in a hothouse. If you need wood, you want to be putting them in a wall drill. It is all subjective depending on what your gameplay is like, but it is very important to understand that until you get to Tesla City, you have a very limited amount of steam cores, so place them wisely. And there you go. I hope you enjoyed the video. This is going to be one of 5 videos on how to improve your gameplay in Frostpunk. I'm going to be going over the different scenarios ready for the next expansion on the Edge, which I'm really looking forward to. If you like the video, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and click the little notification bell when I go live next. And if you want to see me live, head over to twitch.tv/Ryfrost. I will put a link in the description down below. And until the next one, stay safe, stay happy. Thank you.